So last week we started a new series. You might think, oh no, they forgot the PowerPoint. No. Bam, there's it there. Yeah. It was the last week we started talking about the idea of living with a purpose. We're surrounded by just a complete waiting despair all around us. We see it in faces everywhere. And people just have this idea that nothing matters. And we talked about the way that we've adopted this kind of survival mindset, which, once again, nothing political or mask or anything like that. It's just we need to get past that. We need to escape that kind of survival thinking. Our life is worth more, because if our purpose is just to survive, it's a pointless living. And then we always come to the point, if we're living just to survive, we always come to the point of asking the question, well, what if I don't want to survive anymore? Because life has no meaning, no purpose, and that's not good. If you feel it's not safe, then okay, fine. Do the thing. Wear masks and stay inside. That's fine. If you feel like it's safe, don't. I don't really care. My point is this: whatever you do, live with purpose. Live with purpose. Life is too short to waste it, being governed and ruled by fear and pointlessness. Have a reason for the next breath. And that is why we here keep pointing back to our mission. Everything we do is to bring people to God and build bridges in the community. Everything we do. When there's an opportunity to do a new ministry, we always come together as pastors and we say, okay, is this building bridges in the community? No? Well, then we're not going to do it. Is it bringing people to God? No? Then we're really not interested. I'm sure that many things are great for churches elsewhere to do. It's just not with what we're trying to do here. See what I mean? And you need that kind of a purpose in your life. I like listening to music. I would even say that I love listening to music. I listen to a wide variety of music. Robert Randolph and the Family Band for when I just want to get down and funky. Come on, man. Somebody throws out a mean slide guitar and that slap bass, and you're like, oh, yeah, that's what's up. But then you don't always feel like that. Sometimes you're like, I want something kind of mellow and calm. So you're like, Kevin Max, where are you, buddy? I just love listening to music. It does something to the soul. You know what I mean? You can just hear a song and it just does something to you. Here's a good example. My son was having to go to the doctor to have something very uncomfortable done to him, and he wasn't a big fan. So I just hummed into his ear very softly, and he stayed calm the whole time. When I stopped humming, he started screaming and throwing a fit. When I hummed, he was totally calm. Music just does something. You know what I mean? It has that ability to speak to you in a way that words never can. And maybe not if you listen to that strange fire music that these kids are listening to now these days, man. Strange fire. I'm just kidding. If you like these musicians that are coming out, hey, more power to you, whatever. But some music drives me up the wall. Country. I was listening to this not country music in total. If you're a country music fan, I don't mean to offend you, but I was listening to this country song the other day, and it was very, very troubling. I think he was trying to be sexy. I think. And he made the comment in this, he was talking about wanting to get funky with this girl. Okay, all right. Now remember, only rap music has, bad lyrics. Country music would never have as bad lyrics as rap music, right? Whatever. But anyways, and it was a very awkward song anyways. Like, it didn't have a whole lot going for it. But then he made the comment, I'd like to check you for ticks. And I'm just like, what? In what world is that sexy? Like, what? I don't know. Maybe I'm just out of the loop, but these are not the kind of songs that I think of when I'm like, hey, let's have a date night and listen to that country hit, How I Want to Check You for Ticks. It's like, that's gross. Are you concerned about her hygiene? Maybe you should buy her some soap. Maybe you should take her to a doctor. Like, hey, I think that she might have something, These are things that are very concerning to me. Well, when I was a kid, there was this very annoying song that got under my skin just about as much as that country song. It was a song by Doris Day. And it's so funny, because this last week, my mom and Ann were actually talking about Doris Day. I have never heard somebody talk about Doris Day in, I don't know, how old am I, 29? 29 years. It doesn't really come up in household conversation. But they were talking about Doris Day at the same week that I'm going to be talking about this song by Doris Day. And it's this, I think it went along with the movie, but the main point of the song that I want to get out is she makes this comment, whatever will be, will be. And, it seems harmless enough, but when I was a kid, I took this to heart, and I started thinking, yeah, whatever will be, will be. Well, if you read the Bible, that's very not true. See, the problem is that when I was growing up, this thinking was very dominant in the church. When I was a kid, it was just, hey, whatever's going to happen, it's going to happen. The church doesn't really have to worry about doing things right or doing things better. But whatever's going to happen is going to happen. If they're going to get saved, they're going to get saved. It's not my problem. If we would read, for instance, Paul, when he said, hey, God, I had this dream of these people calling me to go tell them about Jesus over here. Well, remember, Paul, whatever will be, will be. You don't really have to go. See what I mean? And so there was this idea, and it was replaced as I grew older. It was replaced by this idea that I can just do it myself. I don't need God's help. I don't need to pray about it. I can just do it. And if it resonates in my spirit, so shall it be. And, just nonsense like that. Well, now that COVID has hit, it is once more in competition with the idea of, hey, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. Nothing really matters. We've changed out this mindset of just nothing really matters. It's all pointless. And so, hey, if it's going to be, it's going to be. And here's the thing. I just want to say right off the bat, we are not God. We can't change the world single-handedly on cup of soups and student loans, and it's not about us. I'm not trying to mince, and make us say that we're all powerful and we're little Jesuses and we can, move mountains with our great faith. And I'm not trying to tell you that kind of stuff, okay? Look, there's a lot of verses that are taken out of context, and I'm not going to discuss them here. My point is, that's not what I'm saying tonight. So don't go away from here saying, hey, he's preaching that stuff that he was knocking a couple months ago. No, I'm not at all. Here's what I am saying. God uses us, he guides us, and oftentimes he does something if we ask him to. He doesn't have to, but oftentimes when we ask him to do something through prayer, oftentimes he will answer us. Once again, not because he has to. It's not like, I prayed the perfect prayer, God. You owe me now. I've done the right rituals, so I can manipulate you into doing what I want you to do. That's not what I'm saying at all. We think because we are in a situation we can't control, and because not every prayer is answered, that somehow nothing we do matters. I don't know exactly how we connected those dots, but those are the dots that we connected. And I want to read this quote by Dr. Paul House. He made this comment, sometimes God talks about delivering his people from a situation. Okay, but other times he talks about sustaining them in a situation. It's real fun to preach about deliverance every single time, and I wish that there was some magical incantation you could do, where you could have one up on God and you could manipulate him into doing whatever you wanted him to do, but that's just not the way it works. I don't know why. For instance, I think back in the book of Exodus, he's like, okay, I'm going to do all this nonsense with Pharaoh, not nonsense about him doing nonsense, but I mean wasting his time with Pharaoh is what I'm saying. That I'm not saying that what God did was nonsense. I'm going to, do all this stuff with Pharaoh so that I can prove how. I would have just gone in and zapped him. Bam. Come on, guys. I mean, I don't need Moses. I don't need Aaron. I don't need all this, showing my signs and wonder. I mean, if I came down, if I was God and I came down in a cloud and just started zapping people, I think they'd know. Like, hey, okay, calm down, But God doesn't do that. He in our eyes, wasted his time with Pharaoh. Wasted his time with Aaron and Miriam, even though he knew what they were going to do. Wasted his time, I use those quotations there, with Moses when he knew that Moses was going to fall short of the promised land in the end anyways. He appointed King Saul when he knew that Saul was going to mess up. He appointed King David even though he knew that David was going to mess up with Bathsheba. See what I mean? There's just a lot of things that we think we have it all figured out, and that's just not really how God sees it. See, if only God would get on our page, if only he listened to us, we have all the answers, God. I mean, we got it all figured out. But God doesn't really work like that, does it? So could it be, and this is a real blow to our pride and our ego, could it be that we see the problem wrong? Could it be that we could, in fact, be not correct? Could it be? See, we can't live for ourselves. We can't seek our own happiness and comfort and then demand that God always acts how we want. Not only that, but even if we are doing all the things right, we still can't expect for God to work on our terms. No matter how good you are, you never become God. I know that's a very troubling thought process for people who have been saved for a long time. We start thinking, well, I've stuck with this for a long time. God, you owe me a little bit. I mean, do you see my faithfulness? I don't have to put up with these kinds of people, with these kinds of situations. I don't need character. Come on. Exodus 3:10 says this, "And now come, and I will send you to Pharaoh, so that you may bring my people, the sons of Israel, out of Egypt." And 13:17, "Now when Pharaoh had let the people go, God did not lead them by the way of the land of the Philistines, even though it was near, for God said, the people might change their minds when they see war and return to Egypt." So, okay, then the first verse we read about how God sent someone to save them. So I think that that's God's will, if I'm correct. Could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's God's will. So when we get to chapter 13, verse 17, and we see that he says, okay, well, I'm not going to send them that way because they're going to turn back. Now we get to chapter 17, verse 8. "Then Amalek came and fought against Israel at Rephidim." So you mean to tell me, God, that you took them by a different way so they wouldn't have war, and then they had war anyways? Okay, well, here's the thing. They were where God wanted, right? Yet they still had to deal with unpleasantness. See, this is something that blows our minds. We think if we are where God wants us, everything's just going to work out. If it's God's will, we'll pray one time, and all the floodgates of heaven will just take us over, and it'll be like getting blasted with air when you open the door in the morning. It's not like that. See, we've come to this idea that nothing really matters because we've been trying to do things our own way, and we're discouraged by the results. Surprise, surprise, it gets very, very discouraging to hear nothing but bad news all day. Did you know that? I didn't know that before 2020. Did you know that it's very, very bad on your mental and emotional health to hear people rant and complain all day long on Facebook? I didn't know that before 2020. I'm learning a lot of things. Did you know that, well, I think we kind of get what I'm saying now. So let's go to 17, verse 8, but let's read through 13. We'll read the whole story, okay? "Then Amalek came and fought against Israel at Rephidim. So Moses said to," and if you want to know where those places are, it's just east of Egypt, okay? "So Moses said to Joshua, 'Choose men for us and go out, fight against Amalek. Tomorrow I will station myself on the top of the hill with the staff of God in my hand.' Joshua did just as Moses told him and fought against Amalek. And Moses, Aaron, and Hur went up to the top of the hill." Now, pay very, very close attention. Remember, it's God's will, right? God's the one who called them out here, all this stuff, right? Okay, so we are all in agreement that what the Bible says is true. Okay, just making sure. So now let's get to verse 11. "So it came about when Moses held his hand up that Israel prevailed." Well, okay, this makes sense. Israel's going to win because, God called them there, and so they're just not going to have any problems. "But when he let his hand down, Amalek prevailed." What? I want my money back, God. This is not what I signed up for, and this is not what you promised. You said that we were going to come and have all this milk and honey, whatever that's all about. I think it sounds sticky and gross, but whatever. And Moses' hands were heavy, so they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat on it, and Aaron and Hur supported his hands. Okay, I'm seeing the connection here. You want his hands held up so that they can win. Okay, all right. One on his side and one on the other, so his hands were steady until the sun set. And Joshua defeated Amalek and his people with the edge of the sword. Okay, so victory came. But didn't God want them to win? Why did they have to do the nonsense with the staff? Do you ever find yourself coming to that kind of a place? God, you told me you wanted me to do this. I'm doing what I'm thinking that you want me to do. Why is this not working? It's frustrating, God, and I can't figure it out. I'm trying to figure it out, but you stuck this annoying person with me. I don't like working with him. Get rid of him. I'm in this situation. I just can't win. Get rid of it. My kid's not listening to me. Strike him just once with a little bit of lightning, then they'll be like, ha, fear your father. But a lot of times we kind of just don't really get the connection here. Didn't God want them to win? Weren't they where God wanted? This is exactly where God wanted them to be. They were where they were supposed to be. Why are they having these problems? Whatever is going to happen, right? So let's take that phrase from that Doris Day song apart real quick, okay? What if Aaron wouldn't have held up Moses' arms? What if the people wouldn't have obeyed God? What if Moses wouldn't have gone? What if Well, I thought it was God's will, right? And yet he still expected people to obey him. How about that? The nerve of this guy. Doesn't he know that we don't... God, you have to pass it through notarization before we'll listen to you, you know. We got to have a mystical sign, and it's got to resonate with our heart and our spirit, because emotions are what is really important. And, it's got to, well, you get what I'm saying. Is that a move on? I'm just kidding. I'm joking. I'm joking. So if it's God's will, it'll work itself out, right? Well, nope. Sometimes we do this. It's our golden test. Well, if it is the will of God, it would have worked out. Okay, that's an idea. I mean, it seems to me like Paul encountered a lot of failures that were from obeying God, but okay, there's an idea. I think that maybe our theology needs a little bit of tweaking. But see, what we do is we take it as a sign. If things worked out, then it was God's will. And if things didn't work out, then, well, it wasn't God's will. I remember one time I was listening to a pastor speak. I don't remember which pastor, so if you want a source, you ain't getting one. And he said, I remember I was coming to this situation, and God told me, there will be no right thing to do. No matter what you do, it's going to be wrong. And the pastor said this. He said, no. There has to be a win here. I can fix any situation. Well, and then, I lived through a very dreadful thing. It was called 2020. Don't let your kids search online about that. It's a bad thing. Everything we did was wrong. And I've been there. Everything that you do is wrong. There is no right thing to do. I mean, you do this and it makes this person mad. You do this and it makes this person mad. It seems like all hell is, coming to chase you down. And, a lot of people felt like that too. But hey, if it's God's will, it'll just work itself out. No. And whatever's going to happen isn't just going to happen. If that was so, Jesus wouldn't have said the very last thing before he takes off. He's like, hey, just real quick memo in case you were missing the things I was talking about all along. Go and make disciples. Okay? Peace. I'll be back in a little bit. What if we didn't obey that? Oh, because whatever's going to happen is going to happen. Well, I think I've shown you just a couple examples that that's not true, but we're basing our theology a lot of times off of movies and not a whole lot off the Bible. 2 Chronicles 7:14, it says this, and my people who are called by my name humble themselves and pray. These are all things we have to do, okay? We're not to the God part. We're the us part. And pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways. I had to turn from my wicked ways too? Dang it. Then I will hear from heaven. And I will forgive their sin and will heal their land. If we call. So how we live matters as well. What we do matters. So I think that we can safely say that if you're going to trust in God and believe the Bible, then the statement that is all around us in everybody's eyes that nothing really matters is not true. See, there's some things that you're going to have to realize. People can be wrong. Did you know that? It's like this still blows people away. They say, well, this person said this and this person said this. And I remember one time I was listening to somebody say, they were saying, evidently I had done something which I hadn't done, but they were convinced that I had done it, and so they were saying it. And then when they were done with, telling all the things that I supposedly had done that this other person had told them about, I said, did you know that people lie? It was like new revelation to them. Like, you're not going to defend yourself? About what? Like, they just made stuff up off the top of their heads, and now I have to defend myself about it? Okay, I'll bite. They said you were a secret alien, and that if I took off your face, I'd find Scooby-Doo. I mean, there's just some things that don't need to be defended. It's just, well, you know me. If you believe that I did that, that's your problem. Like, you should know me by now. Like, if you don't know me and you think, well, and you come to me and you say, well, I heard that you did this, I will probably answer you. But if you're one of the people that I count as friends, and you come up to me and say that you were listening to gossip by somebody, and they said that I did this thing that doesn't sound like something I would do, I'm not going to answer you. You have to make the decision to either, go with gossip or not. I mean, that's not my problem. Galatians 6:9. Oh, I missed it. Somewhere in there. There it is. No, it's gone. It's gone. Oh, dang it. Ah. 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 See? It doesn't matter what you do. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. I just kid. I joke. Everybody's a comedian. Can you read it for us, please? It said, in due time, we will reap if we do not grow weary, if we keep on doing what we're supposed to be doing. Well, now hold on. Doesn't God want people to hear about Jesus? Doesn't he want the church to succeed? Well, then I can just give up and the mission will carry on. Wait, is that what that verse just said? See, so can we really say that nothing really matters? No, we cannot. Although PowerPoints don't really matter. I think that in hell, Satan's just going to be sitting there having everybody just keep on making PowerPoints over and over again all day. And yeah, and then every couple seconds the power is going to go out and they have to restart, and it didn't have an autosave function. Oh, jeez. So isn't it God's will, yet it is dependent on sticking with it. Now, I do want to say something. Sometimes this verse is yanked out of context. I've done it myself. To say something along the lines of this: you don't need to take breaks. So let me just intrude on myself and make sure we're all on the same page. Paul isn't talking about that at all. Taking breaks is fine. In fact, God even tells us to have a Sabbath, to have a time of rest, okay? So I'm not telling you that you need to work until your hands are bleeding, okay? I'm not telling you any of that stuff. And I'm not saying definitely you don't want to be living without purpose, but this is the thing. I've seen people have what I like to call it a vacation addiction, okay? Now, vacations can be good if they're used correctly. Now, what I mean by that is this. If you're really suffering from depression or burnout, those kinds of things, going on vacation is insufficient. You need to change how you're living. Vacations can be helpful, but the problem is we think that our happiness is just over the next bend in the road, and it never is. And then we stop having devotions because we're on vacation, and then we get back and we're still on cloud 9, and that crashes within the matter of a couple seconds. It's just a false hope. There's, I watched this cartoon when I was a kid. I love it. It's called the Goofy Movie. Get away from it all. And then Goofy's son says, "I don't want to get away from it all, Dad." With a squeaky voice. Yeah, you guys remember this movie, right? At Disney, it's a classic. When he's all rocking out and watching the TV, and you're like, "Yeah." No, come on, guys. Jeez, you think that I'm the only person around here who watches TV? So what we do is we like to take verses out of context and then live a self-pleasing life, and then we apply them to us. And it just doesn't really work very well. Paul in Galatians is talking about persevering in Christian ministry. Did you know that we're all in ministry? Okay. Did you know that it's not always going to be fun? Okay. Did you know that there's going to be a lot of people you don't like? I found a very, very awesome shirt that I think I'm going to start wearing. It has a bunch of rainbows and, stars flying and unicorns frolicking in the field, and it says, "I hate people." I just think that it's such a perfect shirt. But anyways, I digress. But Paul is not talking about business endeavors. He's not talking about exercise routines. He's not talking about projects and hobbies. But I will say this. Generally speaking, the way to succeed in something is to not give up. That's just a general principle of life. But even more so when you're persevering in ministry and loving people and serving people, because God just has a way of having things increase. I suspect that there will be many Christians who get to heaven who thought that their whole life was a failure, that they didn't ever do anything big for God, that, they were never that mega church pastor, they were never that guy who sold a bunch of books, and they're going to get to heaven, and they're going to find that there were a lot of little people who they really did matter to. I highly suspect that, because a lot of times we think that if something's not publicized, then it has no value, and that's just not true. What we like to do is we like to give up on stuff. We give up on our marriages and on our people and on beliefs and on our ministry and on God. We just like to give up on things. It doesn't matter what it is. We give up on it. Well, I tried tithing, and it didn't work. I tried going to church, it didn't work. God, He doesn't really care. When I was a kid, I used to believe that stuff. Whatever. Yeah, whatever. Go do whatever. You're probably going to do it anyways. So we just like to give up on stuff. It's this idea that rattles around on the back of our head somewhere that nothing really matters, and it's just not true. And I want to look at these two very specific verses in Exodus chapter 3. If you're reading through the Bible with us, you read it a couple weeks ago, and I want to make sure that you got it. No, this is not good. Exodus isn't there. Oh, this is not good at all. Oh, it was. There's just this awkward thing from last week in the middle of it. Oh, thank you, Jesus. Okay, let's get back on topic. Exodus 3:8. So and I don't even know how that happened. I think maybe there's a gremlin in the computer. You see that nasty little A in front of power? It's in the, in the thingies, the brackets. I take those out. I hate them. If I had my own world, brackets wouldn't exist. But there it is, glaring at me. Duh. Look at your failure. Can we go back a slide? Yeah, I know. Right where I didn't want it, Thanks, PowerPoint. Probably. But that's the thing. I never know what I'm doing with the computer. It's like, I guess, should I be the one that updates the church's website? I don't think so. So I have come down to rescue them. This is God speaking to Moses from the power of the Egyptians and to bring them up from that land to a good and spacious land. This is God speaking. I have come to do this. Verse 10, 2 verses later. And now come and I will send you. So let's break it down even more. I have, so go. Okay. James 5:16, this is just the end of 16. It's not the whole thing. I made note of their partial verse. You can read James on your own. I'm not trying to read the whole book. I'm just getting an idea here, okay? A prayer of a righteous person can accomplish much. Sometimes we think that prayer just doesn't matter, and we pray once and we give up. Well, there's a few things that's wrong with that. First off, endurance is the way to success. That's the first thing. Second off, God oftentimes has a way of changing our heart as we keep seeking Him for something. So sometimes we give up before He's had a chance to really teach us something. You know what I mean? Point being this: do good things, but pray too. Okay? God has a way of working things. John 17:15, I am not praying that you take them out of the world, but that you protect them from the evil one. Well, I don't like that prayer. It was Jesus who prayed it. Yeah, don't you feel bad? Yeah. See, the thing is, we won't have a carefree existence. I always hate to rip that Band-Aid off because I really like that one, but it's just not true. So, we won't have a carefree existence. There is much that can prevent our success, our prayers being answered, and our contentment with life. Do you know that some things you do in life will make it where you are not content? And I'll say this is another painful Band-Aid to take off, guys. The more you try to be happy, the less happy you'll be. The more you make it your pursuit in life to chase happiness, the farther away it'll get. Oh. But I got it out there, so live with purpose and happiness will follow. Proverbs 25:29. These are things that will affect your contentment, your prayers being answered, and your success. A righteous person who yields to the wicked is like a muddied spring or a polluted well. You don't know how many people I've seen, oh, well, I'm a Christian. Well, I get what you're saying, but I'm pretty sure that God doesn't want you to go back to doing drugs. I mean, he called you from that. He saved you. He led you away. You've been off now for a while. I'm pretty sure he doesn't want you to go back into drugs just because you grew. I could be wrong, but I really don't think that I am. You see, another big one is gossip. Well, we used to talk crap back in my days, but now I've been saved for a couple of years, and it's okay that I'm talking crap about people again. What? That doesn't make sense. If you're ever wondering, hey, should I be acting like this or thinking like this, just ask yourself 2 quick questions. Number 1, does Jesus treat you like that? That's painful, isn't it? You could just probably stop there. Number 2, did Jesus act like that when he was on earth? Yeah. See, because we do is we kind of start huffing our own farts, and we justify our own stupid thinking. We do something along the lines of this. Well, Jesus is going to come again, and he's going to wipe people out. Yeah, so I can beat him to the punch and start wiping people out now. It's like, well, you might have missed the big points of the Bible. Maybe you should try again in Genesis and see how far. Psalm 145:18, the Lord is near all who call out to him with integrity. Well, I tried calling out to him, but then I'm also sleeping around with people, so there's that. Well, I guess maybe you ought to come to him with a whole heart instead of just part of it. Like, I want God to answer my prayers, but I really don't want to change how I'm living. I want to stop having panic attacks, but I really don't want to change how I'm living. I don't want to be depressed all the time, but I really don't want to change how I'm living. Now, I'm not saying there are some things you're going to live with, and I am sorry that that's just the way it is. There's some people are going to live with chronic pain, some people are going to live with anxiety and depression. I'm not trying to tell you that, I have discovered some secret frequency that if you listen to it, it'll take all your problems on this earth away. Jesus said this, in this life there will be troubles. I'm sorry that he had it like that, but he does. I'm sorry. And then 1 Peter 3:7, just a partial. I just wanted to get the main point out. Husbands or wives, it really doesn't matter for the idea here. Live with your spouse in an understanding way so that your prayers will not be hindered. And you could read it in there to see what I'm talking about it being more of an idea. But anyways, it doesn't really matter how you want to take it. He was writing for a specific audience that doesn't really exist now, but just because the community is a little bit different. Obviously, there are still husbands who mistreat their wives, duh. But, I mean, there was just kind of you guys don't want a history lesson anyways. Moral of the story being, mistreating people can cause God not to answer your prayers. So being able to go fun places, resume life as it used to be, I'm just tired of the new normal. But is that okay? Can I be tired of it, or is that wrong too? Do I have to enjoy it? Because I don't. I'm going to be real honest. I have a lot of problems when I'm wearing a mask. That kind of just, with heart rate going skyrocket and feel like I'm. And then there's the bad breath too, and you're like, I just always want to be brushing my teeth because I'm smelling myself, and it's not good. It's just not good. And I'm hoping that goes away one day, because if I'm like dying on my deathbed and we're still wearing masks, I'm just going to take it off and I'm like, I'm dying anyways. Don't make me smell my breath and die of that too. Jeez. But anyways, so being able to go fun places, resume life as it used to be, not wear a mask, go to large gatherings, those things are fun, but they don't make you matter. I would argue that a lot of us were having problems with finding a purpose in life before COVID hit, and once it did, it just really, there was nothing else to entertain us, nothing else to distract us. In the grand scheme of things, all those things are insignificant. Large gatherings, they were so fun. Man, oh man, they're so fun. But they're insignificant. Being able to go places without your mask. I know to some people it matters more than others. It just, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter. I mean, look at Darth Vader. That poor guy had to wear a mask all the time, and you never saw him complaining. He was always like, that's why he breathes like that. He can't breathe. Oh, that just clicked. Oh my gosh, how did I not recognize that? Oh my goodness. Maybe it is significant. Meanwhile, the insignificant things are often the most important things. We think these things, if this would happen, that would make me happy. But oftentimes, it's the insignificant things in life that are the most important. Helping people. Oh, it doesn't matter. Nobody really notices. Serving. Oh, it doesn't really matter. Praying. Oh, prayers are pointless. See, it's those insignificant things that we overlook that are oftentimes of the greatest value. I've seen a lot of things happening. I've seen a lot of people distraught about the world around them And then I've seen a lot of those people come to the food pantry and be thankful to get food. But they're still distraught about the problem. And they think that if the problem would go away, they'd be happy. But I think if the food went away, they'd be even unhappier. And I think that helping those people and serving them, they might not always realize what a blessing it is. But I think that that matters just a little bit more than being able to eat in a restaurant again. Because some of those people didn't have food for another week. And that's kind of a big deal. You know, we talk about, you know, how we always check things about with our mission. Or is it bringing people to God? Is it building bridges in the community? And here's the thing. The whole reason why we do the food pantry is to bring people to God and build bridges in the community. So then people come to this, well, you don't pray for people at the food pantry. Well, that is true, unless they ask us. That is true, because those are the regulations that have been set in place, not by us, but that's just the way it is. You don't have to like it, but still that's the way it is. It's too valuable of an opportunity. Well, if you can't pray for people, then you shouldn't do it at all. Well, I understand what you're saying, but here's the thing. Loving and serving people, I think, is worth a little bit more than trying to make them feel like they have to choose Jesus right now because I said so. You know what I mean? There's sometimes that, and I'm not saying that, yes, you have to choose Jesus. I'm not trying to say anything about that, but we cannot do the work of the Holy Spirit in really touching a person's heart. We can be used, we can present, but if you noticed, when Jesus was dying on the cross, what was he saying? Was he saying, get in church, you bunch of sinners? You're all going to hell, that's why I'm here. No, he said this, Father, forgive them. They don't understand what they're doing. He came to serve. Why do we think that we came to be served? The biggest problem in the church is that we get upset because we want to be treated better than Jesus was treated. That's not how things work. This situation is annoying. Yeah, try being betrayed by Judas while you're carrying a freaking huge cross and then, you know, people whipping you and making fun of you and spitting on you too. It doesn't sound real fun there, does it? Yeah, I bet it does. So, okay, the idea that nothing matters is just wrong. The problem is that we're living by a feeling. And that's not good, to be making decisions off of what you feel and nothing more. It feels like nothing matters, but that's just a feeling. Although it may be an indication that you need to change. When you come to a point in life and you say, nothing that I do really matters, maybe you need to change. God, cast away the idea that we could be wrong, but maybe we're wrong and we need to change. It's just possible. So let's see if what we can tie in here and get some nice bows on this thing going on. Maybe you need to reevaluate what your life is really about and then change what you do and spend your money on. You want to know where your heart lies? What do you spend the most amount of money on, and what do you spend the most amount of time on? There's a good little indicator there. So reevaluate your life. Don't put your hope and faith in things getting normal or in your ability to change the world. It's not all about you. This isn't a video game. You're not the main character. I mean, it's just, you got to get over it. I know for a lot of people, it's really hard for us to get. We want to be, it's like the Truman Show, and we want to be Truman. Everybody looking into the fishbowl, and it's not going to work. What we do in our prayers, they matter. And I'm going to show a verse here in just a second that I think, is really nice. We build bridges in the community and bring people to God by how we treat the people we don't like. That is how we bring people to God. That is how we build. How do you treat the person you dislike the most? That is the extent that God will be able to use you. That is the extent of how much you will actually bring people to God. And see, it's nice to have it on the wall. Hey, we're going to build bridges in the community. Ha-ha! It's a lot harder when the community is all you remember, for those of you who remember, you want to start a drug community? Are you crazy? Stone him! Light the church on fire! For some of you who weren't here, but it was a madhouse. I mean, people were like, I don't know, it was crazy, and a lot of things like that. Those things, that's how we build bridges in the community. And here's the real kicker that took me a long time to notice. Those annoying people that came in here and ranting about, you can't open up that drug house, don't help the druggies, don't bring the drugs into Tule because it's not already here. Those same people who are, how I treat them is also building bridges. That was hard. That was hard because I was like, but God, they're the annoying ones. They're the bad guy, God. Weren't you reading the Cliff Notes? Weren't you following along with us, God? They're the ones you're supposed to strike with fire. But that is how we bring people to God. And it's also by how we serve, not just that we serve. See, there was this big idea when I was a kid that you were lucky to have me. You know what I mean? Like somebody would come to a church and they'd say, I'm going to help out in a ministry, and you're just so blessed. Because you're a small church, and I am talented. The biggest offenders were people who played piano. We were just talking about this today. The biggest offenders were people who played piano. They thought that, hey, I play piano. I'm the world's hottest thing that's ever come. I'm going to come in here and blow you all away. And of course, the Holy Spirit or whatever. But I'm really going to blow you away. And it's like, And there was just this... Yeah. That's funny. I like that. Oh, my gosh. Yes, they do. I just remember that movie with John Wayne. He says, "You're playing that piano." I think it was El Dorado. You're playing that piano awful lousy. Yeah, you don't look very happy. No, I'm not. Would you like to move out of the piano? Yeah, I would. Then go. And then he shoots the piano, and there's a guy hiding behind it. Don't tell me I'm the only person who's seen El Dorado, guys. I tried the whole kid cartoon thing. You didn't laugh. Okay, so I moved to the Western, and you're still not laughing. What do I have to do? See, it's not just about that we serve, it's how we serve, having a good character. Because I will tell you this, and Pastor mentioned this verse this morning. If you have all the talent in the world, but you don't have love, it's nothing. It's nothing. You can take your talent and be gone. You don't know how many people I have seen since I became an associate. You'd be surprised. Once you become a pastor, people think that you're just like money hungry, I guess. And so everybody tries to buy you. You know what I mean? Like, well, if I don't see what I like happen, I'm going to stop paying tithes. And I'm like, go ahead. God will open another door. Don't worry about me. God's got it covered. I'm fine. Worst comes to worst, I lose my house, and God will bring me somewhere else. It's fine. Like, it'll be okay. Anyways, I don't know why people always think that that's like the go-to with pastors. Maybe it's because there's so many Kenneth Copelands in the world. The reason why we do yams, and before we had decorum. We said, no, we're not going to joke about Benny Hinn's and Kenneth Copeland's. Well, then Kenneth Copeland went crazy with all the stuff that he started posting online. He asked for it, okay? He started it. I'm just finishing it. I want to make sure there's a wide divide there. I had nothing to do with it. Nothing. Man, I was watching one of you. He's talking about regrowing hair or some nonsense. Anyways, the reason we do the young adults group, the reason why we do the hip party and the food pantry, the reason why we do these Sunday services is all these things are being done to bring people to God and build bridges in the community. And if the day ever comes when they are no longer serving that purpose, that will be the day when we do away with them and try for something else. We are not married to the methods that we use. We are trying to reach people. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to try things that don't work. But our actions, our attitudes, and our motives, they matter. I know that all around us we're getting all this idea that nothing really matters. It's wrong. These things really do matter. Now I'll turn to Ephesians 2:10. Click to it. For we are his workmanship created in Christ Jesus for good works. We were created to do good works. Even though sometimes it's hard, even though we have to work with people that we don't like, we were created to do good works, which God prepared ahead of time for us to do. And I will say this, the people who don't get a purpose in life or in ministry They settle for having their own preferences and having things their own way all the time because they don't have a purpose and they don't live with purpose. So they just want things their way. It has to be done my way all the time. They're the control freaks that just can't leave things alone. They tell the pastor how he should do things. They tell the prayer team how they should do things. Tell the worship team how they should do things. Tell everybody they have everybody else's problems fixed. This is how you should do it to really be beneficial if you just listen to me. But, well, our actions, our attitudes, and our motives really matter, and we need a purpose in life. Don't settle for just having things your way. Things are going to happen you don't like. I mean, try being married, for instance. Your spouse will do things, and it's like, that's the wrong way to do it. For instance, did you know that my wife folds towels wrong? It's not the threefold. It's never been the threefold. I'm just kidding, because we were joking about that the other day. She brought up this, I think it was yams or something like that, and she said about how you're supposed to fold it 3 ways, and I looked at her and I said, what? You fold it twice. It gets too thick. And she's like, no, it gets too wide. And it's like, that's a thing? Anyways, we laughed, we cried, it moved me, Bob. Lord, I pray that you would give us a new sense of purpose and drive. I pray that you would help us to see the forest for the trees. God, I pray that you would put in us that desire to see your kingdom come, that desire to live your way, that desire to really be willing to take the bad for the purpose of seeing even one person come. Just one, God. That we would have deep in our hearts, embedded, immovable, the purpose and the passion of you. God, I pray that you would give us the courage to pray and to do, because it matters. Lord, that for those who feel hopeless and in despair, that if there's something that they need to change, that they would change it. Or if they just need to keep on going, that you would show them, God, that you are working in the ugly prayers, in the lack of words, in the hopelessness, in the blind faith, that you're still working in it. Lord, we know that you called us to endure, so for that purpose, I pray that you would heal marriages that have been scarred through the 2020 nonsense. People who have just been pushed past their limits and are at a place of just breaking. That you would heal marriages, that you would heal broken spirits. Oh, Lord, there's a lot of people suffering. Lord, I pray that you would heal families, and that your church would be able to do good things and see good things. That the church wouldn't always have to see the bad, but also would see the good. And that the things that we do in honor of you, Lord, that we'd see it return to us 100-fold. Lord, don't let us always see things fall apart, but that we'd see things actually work out. That we'd see not just one person get saved, but 20 people get saved. That we'd see entire families get saved. Lord, I pray that as we continually build and draw and try and seek people, God, help it not to be one of those things that the results don't come back until we're long dead. Help us to see some of the results now. Lord, give your church a sense of purpose, but also give those who have no idea what I'm talking about. They've never grown up in the church. They don't know what I'm talking about. Lord, give them a sense of purpose too. Move us forward, God, that we could build bridges in the community and bring people to you.